Hey guys, welcome back to my movie reviews, and this is the fourth one in my series of talking about all the Ninja Turtles movies. And this one is so far the only big wide release Ninja Turtles film that's completely animated. There's Turtles Forever, but this one's in complete 3D and that one didn't get a wide release. But anyway, yeah. So this 2007 feature, it certainly takes place in a universe quite different from the live action movies, and not just from the fact that it's animated or this new sense of attitude that I'm gonna dive into later on. The Turtles were able to beat the Shredder, and then shortly after, Splinter decided to send Leonardo away to South America for a little bit of extra training. And now that the Shredder is like all vanquished, the Turtles have spent like this last year kind of just doing some rundown jobs. Donatello's an IT clerk, Michelangelo's, as April puts it, gotten into the entertainment business, and the Turtles think that Raphael, on the other hand, just sleeps all day, but in reality, he's this vigilante called the Night Watcher. He just couldn't stomach trying to lead a semi-normal life. April ends up working on a story, not really as a journalist, but for a company she works for, and she comes across Leo, and she manages to convince him to return after all this time, which is very good timing because this very old prophecy about monsters being unleashed on New York is about to come true. But before the Turtles can really beat them, then they have to learn to appreciate each other once again, and there is a feud between Leo and Raph that's not gonna just go away with a shake of the hand and a welcome home pat. So here's the big thing about this feature. As I said in my first review of the 1990 Turtles movie, the Ninja Turtles were a very special part of my life during high school. I really came across the old 1987 cartoon back then, and at a time where so much stuff was changing for me and I was so terrified of what the days would bring up. It was a terrific cartoon to go back to, with lovable characters, some terrific humor, some actually decent action, a real sense of 80s nostalgia vibe. However, there have been some instances where the Turtles have bothered me. Which brings me to the Nickelodeon rendition of the Turtles starting in 2012. In my opinion, that 3D cartoon was brilliantly animated, brilliantly voiced, and a lot of fun. However, I didn't really become an instant fan, and nor am I really much of a big fan of it today because of some big things. One is that their Master Splinter is strict to the point of, like, abuse. I've heard that there are a fair amount of people who actually do like this Splinter, but for me, I found him to be a horrible mentor and an even worse father, which sounds really cruel, and I'm sorry, but that's it. And what I feel more strongly about is how the Michelangelo, the Mikey, in that TV show, he was often too belittled by his brothers. The banter that they had felt realistic, but I mean, like, it was kind of unnecessary how smeared he was. This unnecessary confliction, it's unfortunately smeared all over this movie. Now, I know that there are a lot of Ninja Turtles fans who really love this show, and the way I see it, it is a mature take on the Turtles. It's not as goofy as the other three by far, and for some that was okay. So to start off, let's just talk about Master Splinter for just a moment. You see, as I said, he sends Leo off to South America to train for a year, but the thing is, and this is both a story problem and a character problem, if the Turtles were able to beat the Shredder, and Splinter was confident enough to send the leader of the group far away where he wouldn't be in direct contact if there was a problem, then if he felt that the world was so peaceful that he could do that, then why at all send Leo off for training? It's just never really made clear. It just seems like a very underdeveloped plot point, one that really doesn't make sense the more you think about it. And also the Splinter here, toward the ending, he gets a bit better, but for most of this movie, he's the same sort of Splinter rendition that I really don't like. A Splinter that is just mad at the world and seems to take out what he can't control on his boys and just always wants things his way. The worst part is when he finds out that the Turtles fought this enemy last night, but how he completely disregards the fact that this enemy going around New York City wasn't their fault. And if they hadn't fought and gotten this creature beaten, then who knows what the creature might have done. He might have killed thousands of people, you know? So Whenever Splinter exhibits those sort of character traits, I really, really don't like him. And as for Leonardo, I liked him even less in this one. He just hangs off of his Master Splinter's every word and never really stops to consider whether their leader just doesn't understand what they're going through properly. And he also just seems to refuse to acknowledge the fact that he may be the leader, but his brothers, they have different personalities, they may want to do things a little differently, and difference should be a good thing when you're on a team and you get to really strategize properly. He just really felt like a bummer here. Honestly, every character that we've really grown to love from other Ninja Turtles incantations is just so gloomy in this production. The exception is Mikey, and I'm very grateful for that. But the thing is, him and Donnie, they're just kind of resorted to cameo status in this. This is all about the conflict between Leo and Raph. But honestly, the gravity and fury of these arguments, it can really bring a chill. The two of them share some very angry dialogue before this point, to the point where you feel, okay, this fight is going to really determine who's the better turtle, who's the better fighter, and they really have everything riding on this. I really liked that rooftop fight scene, and I liked most of the fight scenes for that matter. And to bring on a more positive side to this movie, even though I didn't really like the human models, and the turtle models look kind of exactly the same, still, the animation, as well as the backgrounds, the scenes, all of New York, I felt it was really well animated, especially for an independent production. And I like some of the soundtrack as well. Leo ends up jumping off a plane in one of the scenes, and the song is really chilling, it's really good. And I also like the final fight song as well, as the turtles are fighting all of these bad guys right by this real whirlpool of light and energy. Also in the ending, there's a 30-second epilogue that's narrated by Raph, and we see the turtles all running and gliding and jumping all across the rooftops, and not only did I like the animation, I liked the narration, I felt it was a very good way to end the movie. But now back to the negative, because I had to bring up the villains. You see, Rotten Tomatoes' consensus is TMNT's art direction is splendid, but the plot is non-existent, and the dialogue lacks the irony and goofy wit of the earlier Ninja Turtles movies. Oftentimes, I may have a problem with the Rotten Tomatoes consensus, but I felt it was really spot on here. Like, I mean, the plot around the 3,000-year-old curse, it's more plain than a cheese pizza, and the villains, pretty much no motive other than to just take over the world in their quest for power. There's nothing interesting about them in the slightest. Not their cause, not their designs even. They look basically just like dismissive video game targets. And back to the drama for one more thing. If this movie had more time to be more jolly, to talk about the dudes, and to just have fun with more pizza, or just reminisce about all the good times in a very humble and energetic way, then maybe the drama would have been better. But this movie is all drama, and the drama is just way too overkill, especially for a Ninja Turtles production. Raph and Donnie end up really bickering about what Raph does for the team, sleeping all day according to Donatello, and Raph just keeps it a secret that he's the Night Watcher. His vigilantism also, the Turtles really don't think is a good idea, even though when they were a proper team that's what they did all the time, so that doesn't really make sense either. And the way I see it, Raph doesn't tell his family about his secret identity because he doesn't trust them to just say that he has to stop. And I feel that this attitude, it's just really not what the Ninja Turtles really stand for. The movie is just way too in love with Master Splinter and Leo and doesn't take Raph's side enough. The way I would basically finish up my review of TMNT is basically that the action scenes are terrific, as is the animation, but whenever an action scene stops and the characters have to really interact one another, it's like all the dopamine just gets sucked right out of the room. So my review for TMNT is a C-. I could honestly see where they were going, it just really sadly didn't work for me. But if you love this movie, then that is awesome, and believe it or not, I'm completely on your side, and I hope you enjoyed my review. And up next is the 2014 Michael Bay produced Ninja Turtles entry, and I'm looking forward to reviewing that with you.